Moving on to New Hampshire, which is less than a week away. Here's what the polling looks like going into it. I mean, Sanders has had the upward swing. These colors are horrible. We're going to have to switch this for next time. Sorry, guys. Klobuchar, a little bit of leveling off if you follow the trend. Warren, upward swing. Biden, downward swing. Buttigieg, real big downward swing. I mean, that's probably why Pete went out, even not knowing. It looks like he gave his pre-written "I won Iowa" speech because he's got to blunt some of, he's got to know that he's going to have a rough night in New Hampshire if these trends hold. And look, having been on Rubio in 2016, like Rubio was a solid second place, and then the debate happened, and he was not in second place. We have a debate on Friday night, so I guess everything could change around. But like, narrative setting is in. Polling's happening, this is New Hampshire's basically, let's just call it what it is. New Hampshire's basically going to be the first election contest of the 2020 presidential Democratic primary. Like, yeah. Iowa hasn't reported. It ain't real.
And nobody's going to accept it as real. Now, and that's the reality of this, right? Because Iowa is never about the delegates. It's about the storyline. It's the vaunted tickets out to New Hampshire that get you to go on.
Yeah.
And that didn't happen. So the train's leaving the station now is New Hampshire. It's not Iowa. It's not the starting point for the train. Which, I don't know, what do you guys think? It strikes me as this makes, and again, not because of delegates, just because of the crazy nature of this and not the thinning of the field and everything. I personally was on the, I think we're going to get an open convention. I think we're going to get an open convention really this time.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it really just comes down to how many candidates are left on Super Tuesday when you have about a fourth of all of the delegates being allocated,
Like a Bloomberg.
Bloomberg's going to be in.
Yeah. How crazy is this for his campaign, right? Well, these guys have been scraping and scuttling for, 6 delegates here, 7 delegates there. Now they're just all covered in crap. And he's just spending $500 million in states that actually have delegates. It's slightly less crazy than it was yesterday.
Hey, maybe
maybe if Nevada screws up, it'll.
I was going to say, Austin's going to pull it up. We just got a tweet question to us on Twitter about how this all works. And so,
not well, apparently.
Yeah. Austin, if you can throw that up real quick. And we're getting a couple questions in chat on this. Kurt Woodward. Good time remember how it gets a breathtaking amount of vote tallying, reporting race calling done quicker, more accurately than any 1,000 people sitting with election officials using phones to report, usually paper tallies. Unsure how they do it. So we got a lot of respect for the Associated Press. We are a little faster than them, a lot faster in some cases. We do it roughly the same way. We have people in county elections offices. We have scrapers when they do it publicly, and where appropriate, we have relationships with county officials so we can get that information quickly. The AP does that. Edison does that. But at last night, the reason why it was so different, to answer Kurt's question, look, this is not a state-run operation. This is not a thing. This is roughly the same effect as a high school class president race. I mean, or an Elks Club, as Drew put it earlier. Like, these guys do their own thing, and they get to keep their own tally. They don't report it to elections officials or anything like that. They are the election officials, and so we're at the mercy of what they report out. And that's why the AP has no numbers. That's why we have no numbers. That's why Edison has no numbers. There's a few things out there by local papers because they actually had, reporters who are good at their job in these various precincts and saw the results firsthand, and they reported it out, and good for them. But as far as the official results, that's why we don't have it, and that's how it works. That being said, since we're talking about New Hampshire's next week. New Hampshire is a primary. They have hundreds of townships. We have people on the ground who've done this before, who are trained to get the results. We'll have our system in place. We're looking forward to being the fastest in New Hampshire again, but that's the black and white difference between New Hampshire and Iowa in terms of how this works.
Yeah, and I would argue we're talking about the phone system that the AP uses and has for years. Excuse me. Which works great and everything. it just has its limitations like anything else. Everything's a trade-off. There's a lot of focus on technology and how technology is bad, and people saying, phone is the greatest way to do this. And I'm not even talking about this gentleman. There was somebody else who was talking about that. And my counter argument was, what technology isn't bad. Immature, untested, untried technology is bad. When you have a system that you've used, that's been proven, that's been iterated, that you have, more importantly than anything else, training on. You can have the greatest technology in the world. It could be tested. It could be bulletproof. And if you don't teach people how to use it, it's going to suck. So it's technology shouldn't be taking the bullet here. It's how you use it. You can talk about technology. You want to say, oh, well, paper and pen is the way to go. You wouldn't run a newsroom that way, for example. You would go into a newsroom today and you'd see a lot of computers. You'd see tablets. You'd see all the modern conveniences. You wouldn't go say, hey, we should actually have IBM Selectrics because that'll be safer. That's just not the reality. You have to have things that are tested, that have been improved on, that have a baseline. And most importantly, as I just said, people know how to use it. It always comes down to people. And I think that gets back to the idea of why couldn't they do this? These are people that are showing up once, maybe for training or two, every 4 years, and it just overwhelmed them. And now we're seeing the fruits of that.
Just to put a pin in New Hampshire, we might wrap this one early just because we spent so much time on Iowa. Do we think the order of New Hampshire is going to be where this trend chart is right here, which basically has Sanders in the lead, Biden in second, Warren in third, Buttigieg in a fourth, and, Klobuchar in a distant fifth? Do we think this is how it's going to be, or do we think the order is going to switch up? And if we think the order is going to switch up, what do we think it's going to be? Starting with Alex, who may be on mute. All right, starting with Drew.
By default, I think we could pretty easily see Buttigieg eclipse Biden for second.
Really?
Yeah. If what people were talking about happened in Iowa, there were a lot of places he wasn't viable.
But so he beats Biden. Does he beat Warren too? Does he come in a legit second, or does he beat Biden to come in third and Warren's in second?
I could see Buttigieg getting second. Warren, yeah, she's neighboring like Bernie is, but obviously that doesn't mean as much.
If Buttigieg comes in second to Sanders in New Hampshire, it's over for Biden. It's over. And also, because everyone's going to be like, everyone's going to say Buttigieg is basically the younger, hipper Biden at that point.
Yeah. The other thing that people haven't focused on very much, and understandably so, given what happened, is turnout in Iowa wasn't so high. It was, it wasn't 2008 record level when you had all these candidates. It was maybe approaching 2016 when you had Bernie and Hillary. So, I just don't think Biden's lighting up the world here, and Bernie's going to get his share. And if anybody's looking for the it factor and to be exciting and whatever, yeah, I think Buttigieg could. It's also a good spot for him, right? It's New England. He'll do well outside of Boston.
Yeah.
He probably won't do well in the more rural northern areas, and the college towns might sort of be up for grabs, but that's certainly Bernie land. Yeah. But you can see him doing well in the coastal areas. Buttigieg, yeah.
Look, I think go ahead, Alex, sorry.
I think it's very dependent on what happens over the next 72 hours, So they're going to dump about half of the votes in. Obviously, whoever has a lead at that point will get somewhat of a boost over the next 24 hours, although muddled with the State of the Union stuff as well. And then, who is the eventual winner? And then the debate will also shake things up, or has the potential to shake things up like it did in 2016. So, if Buttigieg really does win or comes very close to winning Iowa and has a good debate performance, you could be seeing that scenario where he comes in second in New Hampshire and then all of a sudden starts looking like a Bernie versus Buttigieg matchup with a wild card in the wings in Mike Bloomberg.
Or Tom Fyre in South Carolina. Polling shows him doing better there. Leading into if anybody's eating into Biden's African American support, it's been Tom Steyer.
Yeah, that's another wild card that I don't think a lot of people know what to make of.
Yeah, it was a pretty crazy set of scenarios before Iowa imploded, and that obviously has not given us any greater clarity or visibility into how this is going to shake out. It's just going to be crazy.